Ponygon.
Hello everybody, welcome to Ponygon. We are gonna talk about horsey stuff and hay bells and needle in a haystack. What? No.
Okay, that was terrible. Let's try that again. Hello everyone and welcome to our very first Ponygon podcast. This podcast is going to be a series of videos in which we just sit down and discuss some things that we really want to discuss about horse games. We have a wide range of topics we want to cover, and we're going to be sure to add in some guests from time to time who do have some expertise in certain areas.
And in today's topic, we're gonna discuss the past and futures of the horse games industries.
So the idea with this topic is to kind of look at older horse games, newer horse games, compare them, and kind of discuss if horse games are evolving, stagnating, and that type of stuff. My name is Rattle. I like to chat about horse games, but I do like to bring a more critical eye to horse games, which is why I kind of like to have these discussions.
I'm Peachy. I do a variety of different gaming videos. I kind of started on horses, but then I moved away from that for a little bit. So it's like a flip-flop back and forth until I figure out what I want to do. But I make videos. There you go. And I bother Rattle.
Yes, she does. She does.
And I am Sandy Darkfall, the potato of the bunch. I make a lot of content, mainly about horse games. I like to play games that are not really finished yet, since I like to give constructive feedback, and also I can be pretty harsh sometimes, but I'm trying my best to be nice and friendly, and also I love schnitzels for some weird reason.
Okay, with introductions out of the way, let's just dive right into our first question, which is going to be, just to kind of set a benchmark for this, when do you guys think was the golden age of horse games and why?
Early 2000s, I would say, in my opinion. So basically when I was a kid and I had almost diapers. No, I'm just kidding. But when I was a kid, I would say not only because of nostalgia reasons, but I think it's because even if their age is still they're old now, but they still hold up today in a way, because the horses were crisp, the animations were like, so what, but they looked good for their time. Like, surprisingly enough, with the little resources they have, they looked actually really good.
Yeah, that's actually very true. The early 2000s is also kind of my sweet spot for newer horse games. Yeah, something that you said just now is the fact that the older horse games look better than the ones that we currently have. I have a theory on that. I think the reason for that is because the graphics were made not to be realistic. They were made to be kind of slightly cartoonish or a little bit off, and as a result, they stand up better to time. Whereas realistic graphics they weather away with time, essentially. It's very easy to see realistic graphics age.
I think the golden age completely depends on your exposure to horse games. So like when I started playing horse games, I was a child. I was so open-minded and thought of the Barbie horse game, or really low quality games. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best game on the planet. But to me at the time, I was so involved and infatuated with these games that I didn't really see them as like a problem or anything. You know how like some people, nitpick on a lot of different things. I was a kid. You put a game in front of me and I'm like, oh my God, pony. Like, I didn't care. That's why a lot of games still have so much exposure, even though the development team has given up on the game, or they're not focusing on the actual game anymore, or they have a ton of controversy, because to them, this isn't a game they grew up on. It's a game that they just found or started playing. So like everything is new to them and they're still figuring out games. So I feel like it's hard to depict the golden age of horse games. But for my, in my personal opinion, I would say back when people focused more on the lore and the authenticity of the game topic rather than the horse topic. So many ideas are repeated nowadays, and I'll explain more on another answer because I wrote more, so I'm going to stop yapping. But I think that if people focus more on, oh my God, I'm sorry if you can hear the drill.
The drill?
Yeah, if people focus more on the drill. If people focus more...
Then we could have a better... we can have better horse games.
Yeah,
we can have better horse games if people focused on the drill.
Yeah, but yeah, I think if people, it would like, they were so authentic because so many games are repeats now. They have the same concept, and now we're just like, oh, another must win the show type game, or like that type of thing. You know, have to save the farm for Papa or Peepaw, whatever they say. So it's like there's the same concept.
Papa, Papa, we gotta save the farm.
Auntie, I can't help you win the competitions.
Yeah, actually, I got on the horse for the first time today in my life. I can't wait to go to the show tomorrow. It's like, that is unrealistic.
That's so true, though. It's so true. But it's actually very interesting what you're saying there, is the idea that horse games were more authentic when they were focusing on the elements that make it authentic. It's something that drives me crazy with films today, movies. When we're talking about with CGI films, what we get is stories tend to have less impact because they're focusing too much on the visual medium of the what do you call it? Help. Of the art of the film. So you have a lot more, you have a lot better CGI, you have a lot better details, you have more effects, but the stories are falling behind the quality of the film. And that's, I think, kind of what's happening to horse games. As you said, you have high quality graphics, you have stunning, horse movements, but it doesn't mean jack if the story and the world doesn't pull you into it in the first place.
Yeah, I would say so. Like the common horse movies, for example, just, I'm this disobedient girl that's just here as a punishment, but I cannot ride at all, but this horse and I have a connection. Let's make this work. I'm so scared that this is gonna be implemented so much in horse games today. Like, it's already started, but hey, most of the horse games don't even get finished, so I think we're good.
Jeez, you just dropped the mic there, like.
All right, Sandy.
Horse games. We don't have to worry about horse games because bad horse games, but they're not even gonna get made. Anyway, let's move on. Good grief. So, for interest's sake, what was all of your first horse games? And do you actually? Yeah, this is a better question. What was your first horse game? And would you still consider that to be your a fun game? Like, looking back on it now, what do you think?
Peachy mentioned Barbie games, and honestly, Barbie Riding Camp was my top tier. And my first pony, I think it was called, and the Springdale games, along with Star Stable Seasons, of course, were like the go-tos. But let's just say I was kind of living it for my PlayStation 2 and my potato computer.
I'm just gonna pop in. My first one, proper horse game, was the Pippa Funnel Stud Farm Inheritance. It's the weirdest thing. The thing that I played it the other day, and kind of hooks into that authenticity thing. But it was really interesting. I played it again the other day, and the thing that struck me the most was it was clunky, it was slow, it was really cliche, really corny, but man, that thing has atmosphere. Like, there's this scene where you walk into the barn and there's this kind of guitar soft music playing and you have these lights breaking into the barn, and I'm just standing there, I'm like, God, I'm like how many years back now when I'm a kid and I'm playing this game again. And it's that emotion that it feels in you. So it's not a great game, but it still has killer atmosphere for what it is.
That's nostalgia value speaking to you.
It is probably, but it still does have atmosphere. It does.
Okay, so from what I remember, my very first horse game was the Energy Horse Riders by Ubisoft on my Nintendo DS. I had to look it up. I literally looked up 2 horse girls on DS game on Google Images because I could not find it, and I saw it. I was like, it's you. Okay, because I remember it.
Oh my God, I've never even heard of this game.
Me neither.
It's basically a concept of a girl having to go to her grandpa's, I don't think it's a stud farm, but her grandpa's farm, and she ends up riding this horse. I believe it's a black horse. And then she finds a dog. She can go on trail rides. It was a really advanced game for my age, at least, because like I said, I was used to the Barbie games. I was used to those really crappy horse designer website games where I was like, yay, design horses, because my standards were so low. I did not care. But all of my siblings got Nintendogs on our first DSs on Christmas, and I got this poorly animated, but it was very interesting. It was a horse game. And it had a good plot and plenty of fun surprises, but the moment I ended the game, I was like, is that it? And I just kept going from there. I think I was familiar with these topics in the games because I grew up learning so much about animals for fun. The more and more I talk about this, I sound a little bit like a freak, but I promise you, it was more or less just as a kid, I really liked the idea of horses. So every time my parents would gift me something, they're like, here, horses. And I'm like, yay.
Hashtag relatable.
Yeah. No, hands down, hashtag relatable. Like, if I saw horse games, if someone gave me anything horse related, it was like, squee!
Give me I see a horse, give it to me.
The horse itself. I still have my little childhood plushie. I accidentally washed him though in a bathtub. Well, I didn't accidentally. I thought I needed to clean him, so he's all like crusty. But he lost his eyes, so my mom drew a little smiley face and two Sharpies. I'll send you the photo, but it's so bad.
You have to send me a photo.
like
That sounds amazing.
He looks like a haunted object. It's so bad.
Halloween horse.
Wanna play a game?
Yeah, but it is. Let's we're having fun. So let's go into the. Okay, I'm actually quite curious about this. What do you consider to be the gold standard for horse games? Okay, so what game do you consider to be a gold standard for horse games that you would point to and say that 'tis must be that horse games? We must follow that example.
I'm sorry.
Go and be wonderful.
There is barely anyone like that around. So it's already. Oh. But what I think is needed is a good story. It's not always needed, but it's good to be implemented. Horse models, animations, they are a must. Honestly, if they don't even exist, people wouldn't even bat an eye to the game and just walk on and forget about their existence. But the typical backstory with aunt, uncle, like we mentioned earlier. But something needs to be outside the box, but something we're still familiar with. I don't really feel like there's a game that's there yet. Like, Rancho Rivershine is touching this, like, pretty good, I would say. Like, they're starting off on a good base, but they're still, like, yeah, some are still, like, a little off, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think Rancho Rivershine, Rain Ravine, they're pushing in towards something that might work. Peachy, what do you think?
So I like wrote some notes, but I wrote a ton of nonsense, so I'm about to remix this, about to beatbox. So I've talked to a lot of people about like what they want in the horse industry, right? Sorry, I just realized I thought you were glitching, you were beatboxing. I thought you were robotic. Oh my god, that was beautiful. Cute. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I've talked to a lot of people both in the horse industry and the horse gaming industry, and I feel like the gold standard would be capturing the ideal horse world, because a lot of people play horse games to experience the horse world in their own way, whether or not they have horses. So, this would be predicted as a horse game that allows you to experience that. So some people may see the gold standard as Western, while others may see English as a gold standard. So basically, the expectations will never be met. So I feel like the gold standard varies, or it never really existed. It's just a placebo. But I feel like gold standards would be picking a niche or topic of horse game and focusing on that entirely. Don't switch from topic to topic to try to promise different types of games and all in one, because you'll end up disappointing all sides instead of just a few that don't like the topic of the genre. You guys mentioned like Rancho Rivershine. I think the developer, she's doing an amazing job on just sticking to the game topic, sticking to the lore, and integrating everything into the game as it was planned. But you have a lot of games that stop in between and say, oh my god, our players, they really want breeding added to the game. And it's like, what about finishing the game first? How about we try finishing this first? And it's like, sometimes you should listen to your players, and sometimes it's not really the best thing. But I do believe that horse games that can explore more than just the horse industry while sticking to the game itself are rare, but they're also golden. So I'd love to see a horse game that exposes both the real life of horses plus the emotional side or the not so great side. Obviously, a lot of horse games are like radiated towards kids, but yeah, I'd love to see, I'd love to see a horse game that is like adult-ish, it's more mature, it's more realistic, you have a lot more responsibility in it. Yeah, but the gold standard for me personally is sticking to one niche and slowly expanding when you finish the game. You know what? My gold standard is a finished horse game. I'll go with Sandy on that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with Peachy because, like with the Stride, we all saw the trailer for them like when they first launched, right? It felt like the game shifted a little bit along the way, but that doesn't mean it's negative, but it's like some games lose their vision. Like, they have an idea set in stone, like, we're gonna do this, and the community is like, we want breeding, like you mentioned, and like, yeah, let's add breeding. Oh no, the whole game got messed up, there's a virus, No, but honestly, I'm
Did
tired.
you lose your mind there for a moment?
No, that's just my sanity, Rattle. No, but
Okay, great.
no, but I realized that games that have breeding in it, like this new game, Fernhoof, like that game is not gonna have breeding. I watched your video, by the way, and I'm so glad that they are not implementing breeding, because that means you're gonna build a bone with the horses and everything. Like every starter horse now, I'm just yeeting out into the bush. I don't even care about my starter horses in games, because like I can get something better. So get out of here. So I have to agree with Peachy about that point of view. Like if they stick to their vision, it's gonna be a wonderful game if it gets finished. That is.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go, Peachy.
No, I was just saying, yeah, no, like thank you for agreeing with me. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, you can say thank you to me too, because I also agree. But it's
Wow.
no, but it's very true though. I absolutely despise the idea of getting games to go into early access. I understand a lot of people are all like, oh no, but that gives players the chance to tell the developers what they want. Exactly, that's the problem. The problem is that like players become extremely entitled to the game, and then essentially they turn the game into theirs, and they demand that their game be the dream game that they want, without understanding that the developer had a very specific vision in mind. And because of all these voices demanding, the focus of the game is completely torn away from what it was originally, and that hurts development badly, as we can see with the situation with Astride. I think personally the reason Astride is such a bugger up at this point is because too many voices were essentially, too many chefs spoil the broth. It's essentially that old saying, right? Oh yes, I actually have but although I will say I have a slightly, okay, but actually very different opinion on what I believe is the gold standard of horse games. So I'm going from this from a slightly different angle. So maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. So I've kind of looked at horse games in general. Hang on. Oh, I drank my monster too fast. So I've done a lot of I've kind of looked at horse games and kind of broke them down into different categories and what exactly is it that makes horse games bad. And the thing that I've noticed, one of the main things, is there is a very big battle in horse games with the concept of realism versus fun. Maybe you guys know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think you maybe see where I'm going with this. There's too much emphasis being placed on the idea that horse games need to be as realistic as possible. This hurts the gameplay, because what you end up with is boring gameplay that's very pretty and very realistic, but realism does not make for a good game. So funnily enough, my ideal horse game is something that is fun, that is engaging, and that's going to make me go, yeah, that was so much fun to do. And that game is Alicia Online.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's a great game.
The other reason why I like Alicia Online, and this is something that other horse games, we literally spoke about this earlier, horse games are not moving away from the same old stories. We can't say go away, but it's the same though. It's the same thing. It's like,
repetitive.
Oh God, I'm talking long now. Yes, it's the same story. Oh, I get a farm. Oh, I breed a horse. And at least Alicia Online, I can throw a lightning bolt at someone's head. That's fun.
Magic,
Yeah.
yay.
Violence. Oh yeah, that too.
Dragon
That
Ball.
Death.
too. Magic. Death. Like the two different things. No, yeah, that's
No, but magic can cause death.
Zombie
Sorry, go,
horses.
that's what I was saying earlier, is like a niche, like if they stuck to it and just went with that, like for example, I don't even see Star Stable Online as like I wouldn't say horse game. I don't see it as like one of the horse games in the industry right now where it's like a one time, like they update it every so often. I feel like SSO at this point is just like it's an MMORPG, it's an online game. So I feel like with them, they should listen a little bit more to their players just because they've been going for 10 plus years. But I feel like with newer games, some developers, they just need to put on noise canceling headphones and they just need to just keep it going, fight the demons in the corner of the room, which are sometimes players, because it can get really annoying to create a game in your vision and keep it that way because everyone's gold standard is going to be different. Like as Rattle said earlier, everyone's going to have a different vision of their favorite horse game, and not everyone's going to get that in their lifetime, which I'm so sorry about that. Yeah.
Reality hurts, kids.
I just want a jousting game. That's it. That's all I ever wanted.
Exactly.
But no one. I just want a horse jousting game where I can knock people's heads off with a pole. I mean, just shove it up their
So
faces.
you also
That's all I
want medieval style game then?
Of course I do.
Rattle, let's make a game.
Okay, so we actually discussed a little earlier about some of the older games that we might have played. So do you guys actually, for interest's sake, do you know what the first kind of official horse game was, for interest's sake?
A racing game, most likely, right?
It was actually, yes.
Ding, 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 we got a winner.
Let's go with a horse riding game. Do you guys know what that? You're like an equestrian type game.
It was.
Do you know when that came out?
It wasn't a horse racing game.
No, it wasn't actually.
Ooh.
I'm not sure. Was it like early 2000s or was it earlier than that?
I think like the 80s.
Earlier.
Earlier?
Yes, 1983. It came out on the Atari.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the game's the game's name was L.P. Casper presents Equestrian. It's literally the game's name was Equestrian. And the entire game was essentially you could pick between I'm gonna actually drop a little picture here for you guys. You could pick between a brown, pink, or a grey horse. And my internet is so fucking slow. And and then you could you had to do like cross country courses, and that was the game. That was literally the game.
Since it was made for the Atari, I can just assume it's just a
Yeah,
low
this is
pixel
like
game.
this is like 8-bit. I'm talking like this is
dang.
8-bit stuff. This is beautiful. I love it. Another little game was actually a platformer that came out in the 90s. It's the Crystal Pony game. Don't know if you guys actually know that. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, that one.
wow.
Can you
Oh
see
my
that?
gosh, wow.
That is the first horse game, and
Yeah.
I thought that was so cute.
That's an Atari game for you.
How have we strayed so far from the ideal? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like from the side view, not actually this above view thing.
There was another one, which was 1985, and literally the entire thing was Harvey Smith Show Jumper.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
We can clearly say
Yeah.
that horse games have evolved during this time.
But it's amazing though that these games, like even back then, like there was a slight interest at least to do horse games. You know, that's the thing I think that kind of caught me there. I was like, holy shit, didn't think people were going that far back and actually making horse games, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's clearly that there is some interest in horse games. It's not.
Oh, I've seen that
Look at
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
look
one
at that! Look at that cute little game.
This one I've seen before. It's just, the ancestors, the ancestry of horse girls. It's strong. It's there. The family tree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So strong.
we're everywhere.
We're
We're everywhere.
Can't get rid of us.
I have actually a sad thing I just realized. There was this Olympics game that I played which had horses in it. Those animations in that game was amazing. But
Are you
Yeah.
talking about Greece Olympics 2004 Athens?
I have no idea. The only thing I know is it was Olympics for like not jousting, but like regular human sports. And there was a horse in like the show jumping session only in there.
Yes, that's Athens 2004. I
No.
played the hell out of
No,
that thing.
seriously.
That thing, show jumping. That's the one. You can go find it. I played. the hell
I've
out of that
been
thing.
trying to find that name for that freaking game for years, but I couldn't find it. I played like crazy, and those animations in that game and the jumping were so good.
What was really cool about that game, it came out in 2004. Sorry, this is just really fun fact for Peachy, is it actually had commentary. So the commentator would say, "Oh no, that didn't go so well." If you knocked a pole,
Yeah.
and if you were doing very good, it's like, "Oh, it's almost clear." You know, it had like this whole tension building thing.
Yeah.
And what was also pretty cool is I don't know why that kind of caught me, but the water jump was the worst though. If you finished and you had a clear round, the horse like galloped away at a full speed, and then the commentator was like, "Oh, that was a brilliant round," and the crowd is like cheering. And if you knocked poles, he brought the horse back to a walk, and the horse and the rider just dropped their heads like that went terribly. I don't know, the animation was it had a lot of personality. You know, that was really cool about it.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
only thing you could do in that game, besides doing the sports, you could just do the riding, like just jumping in that game. But it had so much charm. Like I was like, why did they not make a full game about horses with this?
I
Horse
wish
games.
commentary was much more popular in today's games, because I think the only one that had like super good AI type commentary is Rival Stars. That's the only one I can think of, but I really miss those games. I forgot that game existed. I played the shit out of that game. That game was so good. What I loved about those games though is they just provided so many examples of like the horse showing world when we were so young. I didn't understand what the red and white flags meant. I didn't understand strides. I didn't understand anything. But I was still playing the game. And I think that's what introduced me more into the horse world, like with different games, is they just had, like you said, they had so much personality. They had commentary. Some of the games had like some features that others were missing, and I wish that we could just have one giant game with like all of our childhoods. That would be a horrible game. All of our childhood niches put into it, like someone's showing and you throw a fireball at them and they explode or something like that, you know, Leisha Online mixed with everything else.
Yeah.
Develop it.
But it's we're all turning into idiots.
Nobody's gonna take us seriously. I'm so sorry.
But the thing that really interests me about the evolution of horse games, and this is kind of why I was kind of asking you guys earlier when you thought was the golden age of horse games. So you and I, Sandy, we kind of said 2000s, Peachy. You had a more, more personal type of idea of what you would consider the golden era of horse games, which is absolutely fair. What I found very interesting, though, is the early 2000s had the largest variety, and this is where it gets interesting for me personally. You have the G1 Jockey series that came out in that year, the Gallop Racer series. You have the Pferd and Pony, which is like that Best Friends series. You have Pets Horse Club coming out, Pippa Funnel riding. You have Barbie horse games coming out. You have and it's just to give you an idea of the of games released in the 2000s. What we know of is 226 total games that came out just in those years. And then we have My Horse and Me, the My Horses, the My Pet Pony. We have tons and tons and tons of horse games. Well, not tons, but we have hundreds of horse games coming out. The thing that I find interesting about that is that if you go into that era, you find variety.
Right.
Which is not prevalent. But so with all of that in mind, have you, with horse games, like maybe you have your own opinion on this, but do you guys think that the horse game genre is stagnating, evolving, going backwards? What do you guys think about the overall movement of horse games?
I think in a lot of ways they have evolved, but they haven't evolved in the idea of jamming everything together. For example, we have so many games nowadays with the same topics. We just want something new. Like, for example, you mentioned a medieval horse game. I would eat that up. I would pay a lot of money for that. Like a well-developed medieval horse game, you know, maybe like you're acting as a knight or something, or like the stable boy or something like that. You know, you have lore.
Yeah.
There's lore there, and it doesn't go off the medieval topic, but it's more than just a horse game. It's like tying those worlds together. Now we just have, like I said, like, Paypod's gonna lose the farm if I don't win this show. I have to get on a horse for the first time today. Like, there's so many topics that are meshed together that it makes it, I believe, like, stagnated, you know? But in a lot of ways, I do believe that they've evolved, though, for the better in my eyes, because, you know, new graphics, sometimes new topics and new perspectives. So, like, not every dev has the same idea, and one game may bring a whole new part of the horse gaming world to light. And there's a lot of critique now than there was 10 years ago, or, you know, or so. So when a lot of us were younger and innocent-minded, we were like, oh, yay, horse game. But now we're like, listen, you guys need to get your together. You guys need to get it together. Are we allowed to cuss? You guys are...
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, you guys need to get it together. And we didn't do that as kids because we just saw the game and accepted it. And I feel like a lot of topics that we used to love have now gone stale, and horse developers are just now getting to them. For example, a lot of different topics back then, people are making them now, being like, oh my gosh, can't wait to make this a huge ordeal, huge game. And it was already done 10 or 15 years ago. I forgot 10 years ago was 2013. We're getting old. So it was longer than 10 years ago. But yeah, and years ago, the horse game industry was so underdeveloped that to us, any new horse game was great. We got a good, maybe, you know, every 2 to 3 years we got a good game. I know you mentioned one year we had multiple games released, but in reality, like a lot of years went by between where we didn't have like a really good horse game, and now you're seeing multiple drops a year. So it's hard to keep up, which makes us picky and makes us value some qualities over others. So yeah, like a lot of us are either older now and have bigger attention to detail, and that makes the game not so fun if the game isn't realistic or living up to its expectations. Like I have a lot of friends who play Alicia online almost every day, and they love it because it's been exactly what it advertises. No lies in marketing or sneaky ways to get players to sign up. You just shoot fireballs at people, boom, they fall over, yay, you know? Like it's a very simple game, but it's kept so well to its standards that you're not afraid of it going stale. So yeah, like one last thing is a lot of horse games and games in general have so many microtransactions that sometimes it's hard to enjoy the game because every corner is a buy this or wait 6 months. And the line between pay to win and genuinely enjoying a horse game or game in general at this point has blurred massively. So we're so used to that type of gaming that companies find it so easy to slip in small purchase baits where here and there, you know, you're not sure if you should buy something or if you should just play the game and enjoy it. And it makes it not so enjoyable because you feel guilty. You're like, okay, now I need to play the game because I spent money on it. Like DLCs, in my opinion, aren't counted as microtransactions, but like SSO that require payment on top of payments. So like if you have Star Rider and you still have to buy star coins, I think that is the scummiest way of making a horse game. And it's become so normalized nowadays. So in some ways, I believe that they've greatly evolved, and other ways I believe that they have completely burnt out and gone stale.
I'm gonna actually squeeze myself in her topic a little bit. Like she mentioned star coins for SSO, for example. Their prices changed at some point for dollars or euros, or pounds. It became more expensive in certain countries to buy star coins. I stopped buying star coins recently on my American account for this very reason. And also, games that are free to play are really good, but the balance between microtransactions is so important. Like, you're not supposed to be able to pay something to win. A question in the game, you can play this game completely for free. You don't have to buy anything, but the starting outfit looks hideous. So you want to buy something to look pretty and nice. In other words, you spend real money to look fancy. So in this sort of way, I think the balance need to be upholded. Has the games evolved or stagnated? The graphics are looking way better than used to. I personally like that games are looking more realistic nowadays. Not that they have to be hyper realistic like Red Dead or something like that, but just that they have a little touch to realism. Like the animations are correct, the horse models are good, like the care system is nice but not tedious. It's not supposed to be like a short. Games are supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, you don't want to play it. And if you don't want to play it, then you're gonna bite the dust. So in this sort of way, I really like it. I like that the games have evolved as they have. Like, they have improved, but they really should learn from the old games. Like, why were these games from the 2000s so popular and so loved even today by many people? What can we do to make it better today? And what has not even been done yet? For example, maybe a apocalyptic game or something like that, or a medieval game. Like, there's so many things that haven't been done yet. So use the old games as a blueprint to forge a path forward in a way.
I actually agree on the idea that horse games in graphical sense are absolutely going forward. That is absolutely true. As a person who does not place a lot of emphasis on graphical aspect, it's not that big a deal for me. However, the fact that animations are getting better, the fact that movement is getting better, striding systems are being added, these types of things are definitely stuff that is good for the horse gaming, right? I do have a theory, and I want to hear what you guys think. I think that... Oh god, I'm gonna die! Didn't die. So I think that
theory.
Horse games...
Sorry.
Ow, KO. Oof.
That was funny. You're way too smart for your own good, Peachy. Anyway, so I have this theory that horse games were on the uptick in the early 2000s, right? Bringing that wonderful era back. But so the reason why I say that is we had a horse game that came out in the early 2000s, which was My Riding Stables Life with Horses. It's the first one.
Good
And
one.
have either of you played that game?
Many times, finished it multiple times, still play it today.
Which game was it?
Have
Can
you-
say
have
the
you-
name again?
It's my riding stable. My riding stable, Life with Horses. It's the first one, not the second one though. The first one.
Let me look it up. Because I don't remember names. I literally just played games and I remember their images.
That's fair.
The second one is heaven-like. The first one is a curse.
No, well, that's the interesting part for me. If we go into the first one's features, we see a situation where you can essentially choose if you're going to be a riding school, if you're going to be a breeding stable, or if you're going to host shows.
Okay, let me rephrase that a little bit. They had very good mechanics, very good ideas, but some things were lacking that the second game
Yes,
didn't
no.
have.
They were certainly lacking in a lot of, and like in the writing aspect and stuff like that, the controls and such. But the point that I'm kind of driving at here is that there were a lot of features in the first one that got dropped in the second one. And I believe that's kind of where horse games started to dip. So what you got were less and less effort being put into horse games, with games being churned out quickly. So we spoke earlier about the fact that in the 2000s we had a lot of horse games happening. There was a lot of creativity going around, but I think that they were being half-assed. And then 2000s and 10s happened, so we had the mobile surge. So the fun thing about mobile is it kind of takes a game and it strips it down to its main core mechanics. In the case of horse games, it's very easy. You have clean the horsey, pet the horsey, ride the horsey, win a ribbon, go do it again. It's essentially what they did. So they stripped down horse games to fit into these little boxes that kids could walk around with essentially in their pockets and then get the money. And that, I think, kind of hurt horse games in a way, because they went for years, as you pointed out earlier, Peachy, they were years where we didn't get good horse games. We literally had Star Stable and that was it. And as a result, I think that games kind of learn from each other and they grow as they make mistakes and as they make new games and stuff. And because we had these dead years and we only had mobile games, I think horse games kind of suffered for it and they took a huge dip. Now we're climbing up again. We're definitely moving forward again. But we're not at the point we would have been if we had games that were being made in that era, essentially, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right. You're making sense.
The hungry grabbing, sort of, like half-assed horse games that's being published. There's this horse game that got released, like, I think a few years ago, like maybe 2, 3, 4. And this game looked like a PlayStation 2 game that got released like recently, again in this area. I'm like, what the bush? What happened?
I think it's My Riding Champion.
Yes,
I think that's the
yes, that's the game. That's the game, my dude. But this Riding Champion is cursed. Like, this is a PlayStation 2 game put into the modern world. Like, they were really trying to go hardcore with the blueprint thing, like I mentioned earlier, but they just went and took the whole freaking plan.
Yeah, that thing is crazy. It's bizarre that they released that thing and they asked like a lot of money for it.
Yeah, but it was like $30-$40 or something. It was a lot of money. And there's another game that has the exact same models, same style, same graphics, and it's like about a unicorn or something. And I don't understand why. Help.
I think it's Unicorn Princess. Why do I know all these stupid games?
Yes, like this is what I mean with half-assed games. Like you mentioned this, like the half-assed. I thought this game right away when you said half-assed games.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yes.
But actually, this kind of actually brings up a second question. Do you guys think that there is a sort of appeal? Okay, I have to ask this in the correct way. So, do you guys think that horse games lend themselves to manipulation? I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to state this correctly. In the sense that horses, for the people who love horses, which are usually kids and teenagers and people, anyway, most people have a very fierce emotional connection to horses. So perhaps horse games will always have essentially an audience. And it's very easy to get people who love horse games to not only be forgiving, but to buy any type of shit on the market.
Yes, that's me.
Yeah. No, I think
That's sad.
that's very true, because that's marketing in general. Like, people, you'll see development companies who have never made a horse game or an animal game in their life, and they randomly just started developing one because of the horse game industry and how popular it's gotten.
But doesn't that actually kind of it's what I'm essentially driving at is okay. Yeah, that yes, exactly. But I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts here. So what? Oh, I'm knocking microphones. So what I'm essentially saying is, I think that could mean that that's the reason why horse game quality is not on par with games like Call of Duty. I cannot think of another game genre. That sucks. Call of Duty.
I guess.
Yes,
Yes.
Skyrim.
Skyrim, there we go. Thank you. Racing games, any of these types of games. What you get is very half-assed attempts because they know they don't have to put in the effort because they know that people will just buy them. And as a result, I think that horse games are in a terrible state. So, next question is, we've actually We've talked. Yes, I can English. We've spoken a lot.
Beautiful English, my friend.
I speak it very deliciously. So we've spoken a lot about. Is there beer in this monster? I'm wondering.
What the?
So we've spoken a lot about the history of horse games, kind of how they're evolving. But let's talk a little bit about the horse games that are currently coming up. Do you guys have any specific games that you are looking forward to? And I kind of want to know why that is.
You already know mine, Rattle. You already know mine.
Yes. Unbridled? There we go. Okay, cool.
Explain myself. Oh dear. No, but honestly, I have followed their journey since the beginning. I've always been impressed by their work. They really listened. And you said earlier that sometimes in this case that when companies hand out games early, like early accesses or demos, it can be negative but can also be really good. In this case, it was very good because us creators playing the game could give them some good feedback and ideas, and they're like, hey, people actually want this, we're gonna use this. And they were scattered with their vision for a while, but they're finally finding their footing. They know what they want. They have lovely potential for role-playing in the future. They're gonna have dressage, western, and even have bow and arrow. Like, that's just epic itself. And of course the standard jumping, which is basically they get the thing in every single horse game, jumping. So like they have many different disciplines in one game. Even the cross country as a tutorial, like still early on at the moment, but I'm extremely stoked to see what Unbridled will bring us. Unbridled. That sounds weird. They're gonna unbridle the truth for us.
That's weird.
That's my opinion.
But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Peachy, or do you want me to go first? I'll jump in this one, and then you can have the final say on this one.
Oh dear.
So mine is actually two. Rain Ravine. Simply because I love the striding system, the fact that it is a different setting, which is instantly going to make me very happy. I also like the visual style of the game. It is very much different than the super realistic games that we often get. And I like the fact that it's aimed at a more mature audience, which instantly makes me also happy. And like I said, I also like the idea that there is no breeding. It is not an estate management game. That is something that drives me crazy. I don't always want to have to go and feed the horses 20 times a fucking day, and I don't always want to go groom the 20 horses 19 times a day, and it just becomes so exhausting. So what's nice about this game, it's going to be story focused, and it's going to have the striding systems, and it's going to be very simplistic in that design, and I'm looking forward to that. The other game is I just like this game though because of the feeling, and that's Canter Crossing. Now, a lot of people are not going to agree with me with this, but I like it because it's different. I like the 2D animations, but I also like the fact that it feels like I'm going on an adventure, and it's instantly taking me away from that organizing an estate feel. So I like both of these games because they are giving me a different feeling than what most of the horse games out there are currently giving me.
Peaches.
Peaches. Okay. So I was going to say RDR3 because it's been confirmed in development, but I probably won't get that until I'm growing gray hairs. So my personal favorite is Reigns of Ravine. Mostly just because of the striding, the realistic jumping, and the realistic animations they already have. And a lot of games haven't done that, where the horse runs to the jump, you have to hold it back, where you have to apply leg. It is absolute hell to use on the keyboard. So I do hope they do controller support at some point if they haven't already. But adding that extra detail to a game for somebody who has been in the horse world or hasn't been in the horse world, either way, I feel like it's applying like a really specific part of the horse world into the game, with controls and how to manage the horse and everything. And if not that, then, you know, like Horse Life Simulator or a lot of games that look like those old type games, you know, that we used to love and everything, but more enhanced with better graphics.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Tales of Rain Ravine. The
same.
developer is very quiet though. It like frightens me sometimes when I go up there. I'm like, it's been so quiet, and then suddenly an update pops up and it's like, hallelujah, you're alive.
Yeah, exactly. Like you came back from the grave. Hallelujah.
Yeah. I do think Unbridled is the only reason why Unbridled frightens me a little sometimes. It's the same reason why I worry about Astride sometimes. The scope is so big. And I've just seen so many of these bigger games. You know, if you look at, you know, what is it with me and the hiccups tonight? If you look at all these bigger games coming out, you know, for different genres on Kickstarter, they sometimes collapse because a feature creep is a real thing. You keep adding features onto a game, and it ends up becoming too big for you to handle, essentially. And that's kind of where I have a problem with. I like Astride. I love Unbridled. I think they're both very cool ideas. I just sometimes get worried for the scope. Get feel my throat tighten
You're not
up.
the only one on that one. I mean, of course, when the games have a big vision, you're scared like, okay, you're gonna be able to do it. But I really think they are, because they have a great passion for their games. But it might take a long time.
Can I say something really quickly about the whole passion thing? I've seen oh my god, he starts doing it right as I start talking. I've seen so many passion projects turn into something so much worse. Rattle, I'm sure you know like some things I'm talking about, but I've seen so many passion projects where the developers or the, you know, team in general is like so motivated, they're like, oh yeah, we're doing it for this purpose, and then it completely warps and turns into something that isn't passionate anymore, but they're still continuing because of either money or because the community is like so wanting the game. And I feel like it just ruins any idea of like a good ending in a horse game. Like even if the horse game is really bad, if the developers created a story, or if they created well, no, not in today's world, but in general, you know, the older horse games where the story was the same, I feel like the passion behind it and like how they displayed it and how they connected it with their own life and everything, I feel like it draws people towards it more. But when people make a horse game and they are like, oh yeah, this is for my personal horse, or this is from, you know, a childhood memory, and then they're like, you know, money, it gets really old. Like you don't want to donate to projects anymore, because you feel like every time you put your money into a project, it just kind of goes to waste.
It adds to the greed.
Yeah, it just makes it all seem like so superficial and doesn't seem like they're actually trying to make a horse game. I can't say like a game in specific, because there's a lot of games that do that, you know, with the microtransactions, but I understand.
I can name 5.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'll be nice, and Rattle's like,
heck no.
number 1.
You want them alphabetically, or how much I hate them?
Oh, schnitzels.
How are we sorting them? But yeah, I feel like a lot of game companies and developer teams, they kind of lose the idea of passion the moment that money comes into it, which is understandable because they need to be paid and they need to be supported, but you're kind of sacrificing money or a really good game. It's one or the other. Usually you don't have a really good game unless you have a good bit of money, vice versa, but sometimes you have to sacrifice the money part for a really good game. You know, RDR2 excluded, they make a lot of money, okay? They have the ability to make a good game, but like the smaller indie companies who are working day and night to make good games, you know, of course they need to be paid, but releasing a half-assed early access game isn't going to do you any good for getting money to supply your project, whether it's a passion project or not.
Yeah, this is a dark reality in games today. Like, if you don't have the money, you don't have a game. And what I noticed is that game developers need to be money greedy. If not, their game will die. And it's the sad truth. Like, some people are driven by money, some people are driven by passion, some people are driven because they love their horses. But in general, money is needed to make a game. You cannot live without money. And this world is kind of sad. Like today, it's even worse than it used to be like 10 years ago. So I have a sort of understanding for game companies that need extra money here and there, but like you mentioned, it's kind of the same. It just goes around in a circle, and when they enter the pit of money, greed, it's hard to get out.
Yeah. There's actually another facet of this that I don't think people really do appreciate. So we have currently a bunch of games, and this also connects to the money situation. I absolutely agree with everything you guys are saying. It is a very precarious thing when you start a game, because you're going to have to get any sort of support. But now it gets interesting. So if you're going to... Okay, let me first set up the situation that we have right now. We have Astride, Unbridled, Rain Ravine, Ranch of Rivershine. I know we're missing a Cancer Crossing, which came out. We have Funhoof Grove now coming into play. We have... I know we have more. We have Horse Life Simulator that's going to be coming out soon. Then we have Horse Simulator. Then we have Horse Wild Simulator. And we have all these games that are consistently vying not only for attention but also for money. So what that essentially means is we have technically within the indie gaming community for horse games, for the niche genre of horse games, which is already not a very big community, I think we are reaching a saturation point. And that is a bit of a problem, because it means that the more games that are going to come out asking for money, the less likely they're going to get money, because too many projects are being made and too many people are asking for money, and there's only so much to go around. Then we have situations like eQuest that completely flopped. That took about $3,000-$4,000 from people because they had to do... They first took $11,000, then they took only about $3,000 because people asked for refunds. Then these types of things are happening, which are making people wary to do anything more with their money. So that's going to hurt the indie gaming companies as well, because they're not going to be able to get more funding because people are going to start closing their hands. Now, what we have here is a very precarious situation. If any of these games, Unbridled, Astride, Rain Ravine, any of them decides to essentially say, we're done with the passion, we're going to move on, it's going to have an enormous ripple effect throughout the community of horse gamers. And we're going to see more games tumble after that. Which is why my throat clamps up every time I hear of smaller games crumbling. Because if it can happen to smaller games, it can happen to bigger ones. And that's going to have a much larger impact. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
The domino effect. I think that's the domino effect being in place. Like you see a very successful game saying, goodbye, I'm gonna say farewell and I'm gonna live my life and have a good one. And then everyone sees it's like, why did they quit? Did they give up? Was it too hard? What was the reason they stopped doing this? And so creators might either see two things. One, they might say, oh yay, one less rival, great, we can just keep making our game. Or they say, can I really do this? Is this pressure gonna kill me or make me stronger? So it's like a double-edged sword in this sort of situation. Like sometimes someone just leaving, but if they have a good explanation, that's different. But if they are leaving because they just don't want to do this anymore, then that's gonna hurt the community.
What do you think, Peachy?
I think that this is kind of like unrelated, but related in a way. So tell me if it's not really part of the topic. But I think also a lot of developers, they start a project during a time in their life where they have the time and passion for it. And then it gets to the point where 2 or 3 or even 5 years later, because games take a very long time to develop, they're not passionate about it anymore. They've moved on with life. Maybe they've gotten married, or they've had a kid, or they've, gotten a really... demanding job, or they just think, you know what, I thought about this years ago and I really loved it then, but now it's just not doable anymore. And I think that there's multiple reasons why someone may leave a project alone, but this is going to be a controversial topic. Normalize giving your project to somebody if they can handle it. Normalize selling your project. I'm sorry, but if your community is really, really dying for that project, and your project has like the ability, kind of like open end, or has the ability to be handed off to somebody and being like, here's the pointers, here's the code, that kind of stuff, maybe do that. Perhaps, you know, give the community a chance. Mayhaps, you know, I don't understand why, other than just the idea of they don't want their game or their project being given to somebody else. But think of the community you've built. Think of the people that you have basically given false hope to. So yeah, I know I do agree with Sandy with like the domino effect, that it has taken down a lot of games all at once, but it's also, you know, like you said, the competition thing where some people also aim to take down games in one way. Like we're going to do things differently than this game, and we're going to market it as different so that we can get more people in here. Which is a very scummy thing to do, but that's marketing in general. I've learned a lot of scummy things that people do, and I'm like, oh my god, they do that? That's how it is.
They do that.
I
yes,
worked
they
in
do.
marketing. I despised it. I don't like marketing. It's one of some of the most underhanded, nasty things that people can do is marketing. I don't like it. Yeah, no, I don't like marketing. But
Nervous sweating right now.
it was just yeah, go. Oh, a marketer in my midst. I've smelled her out.
Oh wow,
Where's
shit.
my shotgun?
Wait, I'm not a marketer. I like the market. That's about it.
Get off of my goddamn property.
Bring out the shotgun.
Papaw, please fire me. I did nothing wrong.
I'm gonna fire you. I'm gonna fire you right up the end.
I'm gonna fire you bronking ass out the window.
I'm like, okay, we just changed like plots right here.
The
Are we like
F-bomb.
freelancing the script?
This is what happens when I drink monsters.
I remember one game. There's one game that comes into mind. It's called Riding Out. And this game is such a good example of this. If I remember correctly, this creator wanted to like implement shooting and everything in this game, and he or she, them, I don't remember who was the creator.
Was a partner group, a husband and a wife.
Yeah, okay, so husband and wife, and they just said, well, if we cannot implement the game, we're just gonna abandon this game. And they could have given this game to the community, because this game had so much potential. Like, I loved that game. Even if they had multiplayer, they removed the multiplayer, but you just had basic like building everything, like you could build and stuff. But this is one of the games that was left in the dust, and it's still on Steam for you to buy. You can still buy this game, which is an offense itself. Like, it's not gonna be finished. It's just gonna be there, laying there forever without anyone to care for it. So this is a perfect example of a game that's eating the dust and doesn't get nurtured.
Like, so someone said it earlier, like, a perfect horse game is a finished horse game.
Games are never finished, though. That's a
It's
golden
like-
rule.
No, I absolutely call bullshit on that. Thank you, Baldur's Gate, for proving people wrong. Thank you, Elden Ring, for proving people wrong. Thank you to every single game out there who has come out completed and did not demand anything further, for proving to people that back in the 90s and 2000s, we got completed games.
But
You know
Sorry,
what?
I'm
I gotta agree with Rattle on that one to a point, but Baldur's Gate 3, they could complete the game by taking the bear out. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes. Yes.
but as long as they don't add horses just randomly.
Why do we live in a world where we got bears that are screwing people? Like, why is that a thing?
What the bush?
It is perfectly unbearable.
Give me my bear.
You couldn't bear that, could you, Sandy?
Oh, just a good example. You know, games that has like cars and stuff in it, they add horses in them just randomly for no reason. Like, they just feel like, oh, if I add a horse, it's gonna be loved. And
yeah,
I
that's
think
what a lot of people think. Yeah.
Sims 4 has horses, and I think they actually have done a good job. Not the newest one, because they're lacking a lot of things. Like Sims 3 was better, let's just face it. But
Yep.
And this is a good example when you add horses to a game. It can work, but if you do it in the wrong way, it's gonna rub off in a bad way.
Horses to add horses, then you're not gonna get anywhere. Because when people see horses, they're like, oh, so where's the riding? They're like, nope. You're just gonna look at it. You're gonna look at it and observe and see it. There's the horse.
It's
like,
decoration.
thank you. Thank you.
I think a good
Nice of
example
you.
for this is I don't remember what the name was. It was like an animal shelter thing. I remember.
Oh yeah.
There was like a
Yeah.
horse DLC in that game, and you could ride the
Yeah.
horse, and you can actually take care of it. But the animations, what did they do?
And Animal Shelter Sim, that was horrible.
Hideous.
Yeah.
All right, so the final question is, this is kind of something that I think that a lot of us kind of do wonder about, is with if we consider the past of horse games and how they've evolved and all the different features and stuff that have come and gone, is there some feature or some element that you feel that should be in a horse game, or something that you really desperately want to see in a horse game that is either that you don't see a lot, or that you wish would come back, or something that you've never seen before? Is there some type of feature like that?
Yes, there's multiple features like that. Like for example, like we mentioned, Alicia Online, magic. Magic is something that's always been a passion of mine in general in games, and I really think that it should be implemented more in horse games. So we kind of get like a nice feeling to a game and the looks, but also the magic aesthetics. A good story for once. Like Star Stable's story is all over the place. I have no idea what's going on there anymore. And honestly, like we mentioned, medieval games, medieval tech, joystick. Like, you mentioned this. The funny thing is, I wrote this. Peachy mentioned this like an hour ago, but I wrote this in my notes. Imagine a horse game that is based in the medieval times with knights, but truly focus on horses. So you have the little stable boy whose dream is to become a knight, and you sort of gets the bond with a horse, and you become a knight, and you sort of go along like that, and you climb with the horse like in the ranks. But just that sort of thing would be breathtaking. And imagine a medieval game with like magic implements as well. I'm just saying, there's potential.
Oh my god. I would love that.
Yeah.
Here's my money. Shut up
Here's
and
all I
take my
got.
money.
Throw money at the
That's
screen.
all I got.
Give me a horse game.
$1,000. Here you go.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game.
That'll do something. I don't know what, but it'll do something. It'll pay for the office space for about a month, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have power.
I live noodles for the rest of the life.
You just sit there and draw the ponies that you want to add to the game.
Oh my god. You start up the game, it's just a photo of a horse. Yeah, thanks for playing.
You like Photoshop a horse into like a donut or something. Like here's the horse.
No, you have like different photos for the different areas, but they're taken like at different places on Earth and by a different photographer. So you have all
Google
this
Maps.
you have this amalgamation of bizarre horses. Oh, I love it. I would play this for that. So
There's like a little message before you start that's like, this game is dedicated to our only donator, Sandy Darkfall.
The proud co-founder of this bizarre game.
Top funder, only funder. You know what? I have a lot of different ideas that I put, mostly just decent genetics. Oh my god, I'm so sorry if you can hear the drill. Mostly just decent genetics. But I also want customization of more than just the player or horses. I want to be able to like Sims for the entire property. I want to be able to create my own horse stables, design stuff like that. But I was thinking about it this last night. I really love... Can you guys hear the drill in the background?
yes, I do.
Yes,
It's
I
hilarious.
I'm so sorry. I really love Baldur's Gate 3. And the big reason I love Baldur's Gate 3 is because it can go in like 18 different directions or more. It has so many combinations. Of course, it took like 5+ years to create, and it took a lot of money, and the funding won't be the same for every indie game. Oh my god. But I think that if you had a horse game, that was so expansive that you could create a path of your own, kind of like Red Dead, but it has multiple endings. Like, for example, you start the game and it's like, do you want to be a Western rider, an English rider? Do you want to do this? Do you want a magic side? Of course, it's going to be a mess, right? It's going to have so many different niches and so many different topics, but I think that would be such a cool game of letting the player choose what type of horse life they want to be in. And if it is one topic, like English only, do you want to be a show jumper, a cross-country rider? Do you just want to ride your horse around on trails? Like, what type of horse life do you want? You know, do you want to be a horse breeder? And then you have a plot for every single narrative. Now, like I said, that's going to be a lot of funding and a lot of money, but I would love to see a game. I almost said that tries. That sounds horrible. I would love to see
That puts in an attempt, god damn it.
that makes me sound so mean. No, I promise there's a lot of games that try, but you know, a game that can put in the effort that a horse enthusiast, I wouldn't even say a horse girl, because I feel like that topic is so overused, but somebody who likes horses, you know, a horse enthusiast, yeah,
A nerd,
can
yeah.
play the game and be like, this is exactly what I've been wanting. Like a wild horse simulator. You know how many people love Spirit and just don't really know anything about horses? They're like, oh my god, the horse with eyebrows. I know him. I remember him. Imagine a horse game surrounding Spirit, like a realistic game, like a horse simulator, kind of like Wolf Quest. Imagine how many people would play that. Like there's so many niches and so many, I keep on using the word niche, I don't know what else to say. So many topics and areas of the horse gaming world that are so unexplored. It's like the world, like what is it, like 95% of the world or the ocean or whatever is unexplored. There's so many parts of the world that are unexplored. Same for the horse industry, and the gaming industry is like, oh my god, the horse gaming industry.
I might actually flick in a little bit, honestly, because you mentioned that you want like something like The Sims, like building and stuff, etc. And there's one game we haven't mentioned, that's Star Question. Like this game actually has the placement of building. You can sort of place buildings, but I think that's a good start to that dream and vision. But it's a little bit more like wall placement and everything like that.
Yeah, well, like same thing with like Sims 4, or Sims 3. It's where you could create like curved walls. You could create like very specific things, which that turns into a simulation game really quick. But it's also Star Equestrian. I put down my little stable, and the ant was like, "You're putting that small stable down for your horse?" And I'm like, "What am I supposed to do?" You know, like it's either that or like buy a bunch of gems or whatever currency they have. It's a new one for each game.
Gems.
At this point, they're gonna run out of the like little, I don't know, the treasure list, the little rocks list of what to name their currency.
They have keys basically as well.
Buy your bag of macaroni today.
Yeah.
And get one for free.
Yeah. Buy 5 extra chips of rock that we found. Oh my god.
It's gonna get weird.
Yeah.
It's like I think that a lot of games, they have the right idea because it's their idea. They want to create a game that they have in their mind, but it's also, if you take a look at your game idea and you go onto Steam, you spend about, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours searching, I bet you will find your exact game idea, plot, and everything on Steam already, or on a game already. So yeah, I think there's a lot missing, but it's very specific. Like medieval, that's oddly specific. It's a time frame in the world, but it's also like so many things. I see so many medieval shows, so many things that are like so inaccurate. I'm like, that would have never happened. Be honest with yourself. And it makes me so mad. But yeah, like imagine a plot with like a stable boy or something, or like he was saved like as a kid by a knight and he wants to become one. Like there's so many plots you could take with that, you know? And same thing for not only medieval times, but early showing times when, you know, the horse industry was so like scuffed because people thought, oh yeah, if I jump my horse 6 feet with no like warm up, my horse will not go lame at 6 years old. You know, I don't really know why that was a thing, but I think a game like covering so many different parts of the horse industry and where it all started, and you know how Red Dead, you know how horses used to be used not as leisure but as transportation. Like there's so many ways that you could go, and I would love to see multiple time frames and multiple directions on a game.
But actually that Red Dead as a horse game separately.
See, like I think that you could make Red Dead a horse game. It's not a horse game within itself. You could make it a horse game, but imagine the power that Rockstar would hold if they just took a couple of years and made a horse game. Like full-blown, like voice actors, animations, everything, like all of their power into a horse game. Imagine the power that they would hold in the community. That would be insane.
It would be gods among men.
Yes, they will be
But
cultivated and sent to the heavens.
I kind of want to actually touch on a couple of things you guys have said, because you said, okay, just before I do move on, I want to say something, because I don't want poor people listening think that we don't care. That the fact that we do have all of these bigger horse games coming out is good. You know, it's great to see these games being developed. It's not like we're saying, oh, we want something else. We're happy to see them being developed, but we just kind of want to see something else. Is when we just no. I'm talking like an idiot. We rather want to see one day different styles of horse games coming out. The other thing that I'm thinking is the thing that I kind of want to see in horse games, and this kind of bleeds into both of your topics, which is why I kind of jumped in, is I think that the problem is okay, I'll just say this in a way that makes sense again. Horse game is a genre, right? I'd say that's a genre of games, horse games. But
Yes.
what we have is, we can also say first-person shooter is a genre of games. We can say horror is a genre of games. What we cannot say is that horse games in its own genre has variety, and that's kind of what we're all driving at, I think, here, and I think what we all want to see. So if we pick up the first person shooter was either Wolfenstein or it was Doom. I can't remember which one it was now. But both of those kind of set the benchmark for what first person shooters would be. And if we look at what Wolfenstein was, essentially a freaking, a Second World War game where you're shooting Nazis. It's a really bizarre theme, and then a great story though. And then you have Doom, which is freaking run around on Mars and blow demons up. It's fun. And then you have Duke Nukem, which is just a whole other level of crazy. But the point that I'm making is that if you go back into the history of first-person shooters, they started out insane, and then they sort of became normal with basic Call of Duty and Battlefield types and styles of games. And then you have Rainbow, which is a completely different style of game. And each of these first-person shooters, even though they are technically all first-person shooters, do have everything is unique within them. And that's what's missing in horse games. We have the exact same genre being copy-paste within the genre, essentially. And that's driving us insane. Because if they would mix, as you said earlier, if they would take like strategy and mix it with like classical horse game ideas, or they take first-person shooter and they mix that with classical horse genre ideas. So you make the base the horse genre, then you add horror, or you add action, or you add fantasy. That's what Star Stable did, essentially. They took the basic horse gaming genre and they added fantasy, and that was a brilliant combination. But horse games are afraid of doing that because the status quo is God. You have that thing of, for a fact that the horse game with the pretty pony and the breeding is going to make money, and you're not sure if your original idea with the freaking machine gun put on the horse's butt and you're blasting bunnies into oblivion is going to make any money. So you kind of have to pick your battles. That's something else to consider.
Oh, Rattle, pick your battle.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I agree.
To some extent, but I do agree.
I agree that we should have first-person shooter games with horses. Why don't
Yes.
we have that yet?
We need a zombie apocalyptic game, like pronto.
I would love to see a game, though. There's a game that kind of touches on that. It's a 2D little game. But here's what I'd like to see in a game. I would like to see a game. I have a lot of things I would like to see in a game. Medieval is one big thing I'd love to see. But something else that's been kind of scratching at the back of my head for a while now is this idea of you are a rider for a messenger, essentially. Okay. You ride between towns, but here's the thing. At night, there are things that come out in the dark. And depending on how well your bond is with your horse, it's going to determine if you can get through it. So some of these rides are very long, and you're going to end up in the dark. That's something else I think that horse games, and that's really what I want to see with horse games, is more challenge and more action. Better gameplay mechanics that doesn't just revolve around taking care of horses and mundane tasks. I want something exciting that's going to make my brain go, oh god, I want to do that again and again and again. Don't get that with horse games. We get the same thing, ride a horsey, jump over a thing, pet horsey. I want to see something with action. I want to see something that makes me excited to play the game. Not just let's go pet the horsey, let's go groom the horsey. I'm sick and tired of that.
Please think outside the little box.
Very little.
Open Pandora's box and unleash the beast.
Little tentacles
horse
coming out.
creature.
Call of Cthulhu game confirmed.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Like, your concept, I could clearly see a game in front of me, like in my head. Like, I have a thing with the art stuff in my head, but I could definitely see that being a game, 100%. Like, there's so many things that you can message, like letters. You can be delivery. You can have a horse carriage sometimes because you need to deliver bigger things, or etc. Or you can like help escort someone across the country. Like, you can be like a sort of a guard sometimes, or just I can mention a messenger. Like, that's a really nice concept, and I definitely would like to see that. I would buy that game as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I just sorry, this is the last thought I just want to kind of share real quick, is I wish that more companies would mix genres, because it means that more people will come into the horse gaming genre. So if you had, for example, that game with where you're running between towns, right? Where you have this base of you have to take care of the horse, you have to bond with the horse and feed the horse. That's still the mundane part of taking care of a horse. You pick the horse, you can design the horse, you create, everything revolves around this horse, and it has a personality, so you need to be careful in how you ride it. So you bring in those elements that a lot of people who play first-person shooters or horrors have never had to do with. So they're learning this in this genre of new game. They're like, oh wow, this is kind of weird. I have to take care of my horse, but I have to do that to ensure he's happy along the trail because it's freaking dangerous. That's what grabs them, is the danger element and the excitement element. But what grabs the other people is the horse gaming people is going to be the taking care of the horses. But then they're also going to get interested in the chasing and the stuff like that. It's you have to mix those genres to bring more people into the genre, to make it more expansive, to get bigger companies to look at horse games. There, my rant is over now.
I agree. I'm gonna sound very grim when I say this, and I apologize for people, but there is very few people that understands that horses are living creatures, even in games. They can die. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Red Dead, they can die. Like, I want to see a game like, if you don't take care of your horse, there's gonna be consequences. Like, this horse can die, and you need to somehow get a new one. You cannot get this horse back. Like, you will be bonded with this horse for life because of this. It can disappear.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
That's why when I was talking about earlier, like, I wouldn't say adult games, but games where you're not like, oh, your horse ran away. It's like, no, your horse, it didn't get fed. Okay, so your horse is in its stall, either starving or dead. Like, and that sounds really morbid. I know. Hear me out on this. But, like, obviously the idea of horse or animal death is very tough for some people, but I wish that we'd have a game where there would be, obviously not the horse, like, dying in its stall, but, consequences, like, Sandy just said, where you have to pay the price either mentally or, like, physically in game to have to get a new horse. Like you said in Red Dead 2, or in games where the horse gets taken away, the horse, you lose the horse. I mean, heck, even in 10 Dogs, the dog runs away if you don't take care of it correctly. There's games that were from, like, years ago that had that implemented. But horses, and this is going to be a controversial idea, horses and the games, I feel, are so aimed towards children that the older community kind of has to scrape up what they can. I feel like a lot of games these days that are saying, oh, well, only kids play them. That's not true. I've met people who are double my age with kids, a family, grandchildren, and they love playing horse games because they feel connected to them. The industry and the community part of it is way more vast than you think. And a lot of people want realism with that kind of stuff, and they're not getting it because they want to kind of coddle the child side of it, which is fair. You don't want to put out a game that is inappropriate to children, but at the same time, maybe we want a game that,
is a little inappropriate.
Yeah, that exemplifies realistic horse qualities, like you need to take care of your horse.
No boobs, please. We just want dead horses.
No nudity. We just want dead horses.
Oh my god. Imagine if we put that on a shirt. Oh my god.
But I think this is the realism that we need in games today. Like in horse games in general. Just that touch that if you do something bad, there will be consequences. There can be good consequences, there can be bad consequences. If you take care of the horse will love you. If you neglect the horse will despise you and glare at you and give you a bombastic side eye every time you enter the stable.
Yeah.
I'll kick you. But that would actually be kind of funny. I'm thinking about a game that you can make play in a famine era, and then you have a horse that you have to decide, are you going to feed it or eat it?
Oh my god, I was thinking it was
Rattle.
going different. Oh my god.
I was like, try to save the horse or sell it, but no, eat it.
I was like, I like the idea of this. No. Alright.
That's really too brutal.
So, yeah.
Just have this horse, and then you have this little pop bubble come up, and when you walk into the stable, like, let's say her name is Mary Legs. Mary Legs whinnies at you, happy that you've come to meet her. You're standing there with the cleaver. Well, this isn't gonna go well.
I'm gonna meet her meats, that is.
Oh my god.
Just look away.
What do you
Look away, children, look
What do you
away.
think the game would be called? Like the Reaping or something? Like, oh my god.
The Reaper.
Reaper. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that would be actually a cool concept. Imagine, hear me out. Imagine if you decide to either save the horse, not eat the horse, but the horse dies, let's say the horse dies. And the horse becomes a ghost and helps you, serve you in different ways, like help you around, but like you become a reaper because of this
I
incident.
actually thought that was going to go
Yeah.
way different. I thought you were going to say that the
I'm
horse
not
dies.
like you, Rattle.
And then the horse dies, and then you're just sleeping in your bed, and you're here on the foot floors. Go, 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 go. The horse comes to haunt you. And then when you wake up, you see these eyes staring at you.
Feed me hay.
Oh my god.
It's just like, hey or nay, motherfucker. Oh, fuck.
No, but I would really love to see also a game that like you know the Reapers and like the death and everything, like a game that is displayed like in a death ghost world, but horses and the Reapers are like they are working together. That sort of thing. Like the Reaper and horse is working together. Like Galloper in Star Stable.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see a game just on that guy.
I like how in this podcast there's gonna be like 3 different lines between all 3 of us, and they're gonna be so easy to tell apart, because like Sandy's like, oh well, think of like a horse haunting you because you didn't feed it. Rattle's like, think of killing your horse. Eating your horse. I'm just listening to both of you like, both of them seem like decent, I'm not gonna lie, but oh my god. Oh my god. I'd also love to see a game that I had it in my mind. Oh my god. Hold on. This happened the other day. Rattle, this happened the other day. Just give me a second. What were you talking about earlier? You were talking about horse death, right? Okay. Oh my god. I didn't hear that part. You think?
But I remember that we mentioned this, that we want games to be more old.
I said that I wanted the horse games to have more edge. I wanted them to be more they're very milk toast. I remember that.
I remember what I was thinking. Breeding. Yay. Breeding is so happy. Breeding is so like fun and everything. Okay, this is gonna sound really brutal. Okay? I want miscarriages. I want birth defects. I want I want something that where there's chances of your foal not being born. There's chances of your mare developing something, I wish that there was ways where breeding wasn't, because if you think of breeding IRL, breeding horses isn't all sunshine and rainbows. You have it where the foal doesn't catch, you spend tons of money on a stud and the mare doesn't get pregnant. Or you have a horse that escapes into the pasture and accidentally impregnates a mare. Or not accident on their part, but accident on your part. You have a point where, you know what that stallion was thinking. He's knowing what he was doing. So you have a lot of portions with horse games where they're like, oh, like I was playing Ranch at Rivershine and it was like, put these 2 in the fertility pasture, like Sunshine and Forest, maybe they'll have a baby, and then in real life it's like, well, Betty Lou's horse got into my pasture and impregnated my 20-year-old mare. I don't know what to do about this. And there's points where, I don't know, like I feel a lot of the industry could be so much more like oddly morbidly realistic.
Yeah, that's actually the thing. Is I'm very frustrated. You said something actually. Oh yes, lavender falls.
Yes.
That's something that you get in Arabians, where the blood flow isn't correctly being pushed into the fall, and then they come out this bluish color. That's horrible, and they don't live for longer than a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Most of them don't, in any case.
Right.
So and then you can have like birth defects. There was it Dan Patch? Was that the horse's name? It was well, it's according to legend. In any case, the horse is a trotter, a standard bred, and when he was born, he had crooked legs, and they said, no, you're gonna have to put him down because the legs aren't gonna straighten correctly. So the guy said no, and then he kind of built a harness for the horse, and he like physically straightened the legs as the horse grew, and he became one of the best trotters in America. So what would be interesting is if you have these horses that have birth defects, and you're like, okay, I can get like a horse therapist type effect, or a I don't know what you call it, like a masseuse to help my horse to get him to maybe run, but it's going to cost a lot of money. So I could rather just cull it and then, okay, I keep the money and then breed again, or I can maybe give this horse a chance because it's out of a very good bloodline. It's just, these are the types of decisions that horse people actually have to make every day. There was a woman who had twin foals of Friesians that got kicked away from their mother. The mother just didn't want them. She nearly killed one of them. So they had to remove them from the mother, and they had to put them in a separate stable, and they had to feed those horses every 2 hours for I don't know how long. And, these are the types of things that happen with horse people. But they, like, all sunshine and rainbows.
Reality hurts.
Yeah.
Let's keep that away. But the thing is, you want to escape reality as well. But at the same time, I want to feel a connection to games. Like, I think the one that's closest to being more adulthoody is actually Tales of Rain because they swear in that game.
That's the closest we're gonna get to it. Just someone walking in and saying,
so far that's the only thing we got, people.
Like it's like all we got. We don't got realistic breeding. We don't got realistic death. But we got a chick walking in saying,
but hey, we got the freaking F word.
We got an F bomb. Yay! Yay for progress.
That's why when
evolution.
When I saw cuss words, I was like, oh my god. It's like, really?
Oh my god.
I need to blur this out.
I was thinking, yeah.
And then
I'm like, I'm not reading that out loud. I just thought to myself the first time I played. But honestly, I agree with that as well. Because it's sensible. Like, if you focus on just the realism of the game, you're gonna forget why you make it. Like, the story is gonna be tossed out the window. Like, the whole purpose of the game is gonna be lost. Like, oh, the game looks pretty. What can you do in this game? You can look at it. What can you do? You can just stand around and look at the beautiful ocean.
To be fair, that is technically it just hit me that I'm technically arguing semantics, because if you're going to be making a game with the idea that this game is going to be a realistic death game of hell, then that's perfectly fine, and that means that your design purpose or your design philosophy and your design and your development is going to go a completely different road than a game like Astride or like Unbridled would go, because those are not their design ideas. But it would be nice to have a game that was just like, give me hoof rot, give me something.
I can guarantee if I ever make a game one day, I will for sure make an either medieval game or the one with the death and everything, like the consequences or the messenger thing, because that chef's kiss.
Anyway, we have been chatting a long time now, so I think we can round this one off. You guys happy? You guys want to add anything else to the topic of the past? Okay, let's round this off actually. In general, about the past versus the future of horse games. Oh yeah, this is I think a nice question to end it on. Are you positive for the future of horse games?
Dirt Apple is positive. She's positive.
Dirt Apple.
Have fun explaining that one. They're gonna be like, what? I'm positive in a lot of ways, but I'm also not positive in a way of, I feel like eventually I'll grow out of it to the point where I'm like, it's like a childhood thing. That's why I've stopped playing Star Stable, where it's like, if I keep on playing it, I'm just gonna grow more and more annoyed with something. But I am positive in a way of, I see a lot of indie games that have a lot of high hopes. They are set on what they want, or like sole developers who are changing the industry for the better.
This potato mush is quite happy with the future, and I really hope that people will keep listening to the community in general, but don't forget their own way. Just do you guys. Just keep on striding forward, and just don't forget why you make the game in the first place. It's not all about money, people. It's about having fun as well.
I think the future for horse games is brighter than it was definitely a few years ago, and that gives me hope that horse games will maybe eventually break into a mainstream market, which is one of my biggest dreams for horse games, is that it actually becomes a genre that larger companies will start to tackle. At this point in time, I have to agree with Sandy as well. I think that horse games need to remember their identity, and they need to remember that it's not only about the community. It's about making a game that not only the community will love, but that will be loved by people outside of it as well. And if they can do that, if they can make games that is loved beyond their borders, then there is a bright future for the horse gaming community, or for horse games in general. My opinion.
There's a rule of thumb. If you don't love your own game, who the hell will?
I love myself, so no one loves me. So
I don't love myself, so everyone loves me for some weird reason.
Oh my god.
yeah, but that is that's very true, though, Sandy. That's very true. Okay, thank you. Did you guys enjoy it?
Yeah, hella fun.
It's okay. It's okay, I guess.
It was okay. Classic Peachy. It was okay.
I had to listen to Rattle yap for like 2 hours.
That's nothing new.
Fun?
I'm just gonna go die in my bed now.
No,
Good night, Rattle. See ya.
Fuck, where's that gun?
Yeah, let's bring FPS games into it right now.
The old grandpa got in the gun.
Get off of my goddamn property.
Well, we should probably close off the podcast.
That's true. That's what I want to do now, and I have to muster up the preacher voice. So
Yeah, let's close Rattle's tab for tonight. Oh my god.
No more monster for you.
So I want to say thank you to our lovely what the do I call you people?
Potatoes. I don't know.
People, yes.
People.
Oh, why am I thanking you? We're all part of this.
Yes. I can say this. Thank you everyone for listening, and please spread the word about Ponygon. And if you have any suggestions about some topics to talk about, please let us know in the comments. It would be deeply appreciated.
Yeah, just remember to like, comment, and subscribe. There we go. And I'll record that again at some point. I think I'm drunk. But
Stop hitting the mic! Monster!
I'm drinking a Monster.
Are you sure it's Monster? I think it's beer.